For years, Prince Andrew, Duke of York, was seen as a royal playboy. Controversial, yes, but never dangerous. The Queen's favorite son, they called him. A war hero, a royal ambassador, a family man. But behind the polished exterior was something darker, something the palace tried again and again to bury. From his entanglements with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein to his catastrophic interview with the BBC's Newsnight, Prince Andrew's fall from grace has been one of the most public and devastating in modern royal history. Yet just when it seemed the scandal had faded into silence, new information has surfaced, deeply unsettling details that threaten to tear down what little remains of his royal reputation. For over a decade, Prince Andrew maintained that he cut off all ties with Jeffrey Epstein in 2010, shortly after Epstein's conviction for sex crimes involving minors. He described the decision as necessary, moral, and final. But in recent months, that narrative has started to crumble, not through gossip or innuendo, but through documented evidence, conflicting timelines, and damning new claims. Court documents, eyewitness accounts, and investigative biographies now suggest that Andrew's association with Epstein continued long after the date he publicly claimed to walk away. One of the most devastating pieces of evidence comes in the form of private flight logs, showing Prince Andrew aboard Epstein's private jet on dates as late as 2011, months after he allegedly ended their friendship. These logs, verified by independent sources, place Andrew not just in Epstein's orbit, but within the very world he said he had abandoned. The implications are profound. If Andrew continued associating with Epstein after his conviction, it raises serious questions about what he knew, what he tolerated, and most critically, what he has been trying to hide. Worse still, former royal aides have begun speaking anonymously to journalists, claiming that key correspondences between Epstein and Andrew were either suppressed or mysteriously lost from royal archives. One staffer even claimed they were instructed not to file certain letters and emails in the official record, suggesting a concerted effort to conceal the full extent of the relationship. These revelations coincide with the upcoming release of a bombshell biography entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York, which alleges that Epstein and Andrew's ties went far deeper than public appearances, a transactional, mutually beneficial friendship that only ended when public exposure made it too dangerous to continue. And then there was the BBC's Newsnight interview. Intended to clear his name, the 2019 interview instead became a public relations disaster. His tone was defensive, his explanations implausible. Most infamously, he claimed he could not have been sweating in a nightclub on the night of the alleged incident because of a bizarre medical condition. He showed no remorse for Epstein's victims, offered no apologies, and seemed more concerned about clearing his own image than addressing the gravity of the crimes involved. Public reaction was swift and damning, and behind palace walls, the fallout was even worse. But now, with the emergence of new, detailed documentation contradicting Andrew's version of events, the scandal is no longer about poor judgment. It's about credibility. It's about the deliberate construction of a false timeline. It's about a royal who had every opportunity to distance himself from a convicted sex offender, and instead chose to maintain contact, stay at his homes, and fly on his planes. And now, the truth is catching up. The palace's silence is growing louder. King Charles has made it clear that Andrew will not return to public life. His military titles are gone. His HRH status has been shelved. Yet Andrew remains at Royal Lodge, holding firm, hoping the tide will turn. But with each new revelation, the tide isn't just turning, it's rising fast. In the years since Prince Andrew was stripped of his royal duties, a new and unsettling question has emerged. How does a disgraced royal, with no official income, continue to live like royalty? With lavish properties, private security, luxury cars, and the costly upkeep of Royal Lodge, his 30-room mansion near Windsor, the costs of Prince Andrew's lifestyle far outweigh anything he could legally earn. The palace has gone quiet, but the headlines haven't. What's emerging now is a web of offshore accounts, foreign contacts, and suspected influence peddling that may be even more damaging than his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Investigative reports from reputable British and international outlets have traced Andrew's financial survival to a combination of foreign benefactors, shadowy business dealings, and questionable property arrangements. One of the most controversial connections comes from a Chinese businesswoman who, according to intelligence sources, was later flagged as a suspected agent of the Chinese Communist Party. This individual reportedly had multiple meetings with Prince Andrew, arranged under the guise of promoting Chinese-British trade, at a time when Andrew was serving as the UK's special representative for international trade and investment. The concern? That these meetings offered far more than trade diplomacy. They offered access to royal privilege, intelligence, and behind-closed-doors influence. Sources close to MI5 have gone on record saying that Andrew's name surfaced in internal security briefings regarding unvetted engagements with individuals later deemed national security risks. While there is no confirmed wrongdoing on his part, the pattern of reckless access has raised serious alarm among UK security services. These concerns became especially pressing after Epstein's global network was revealed to have included financiers and political actors across multiple countries, including China, Russia, and the Middle East. Then there are the financial irregularities. According to a recent exposé in the Sunday Times, Andrew's property acquisitions, including his refurbishment of Royal Lodge, may have been partially funded through unnamed donors and shell companies. A leaked document suggests that a Luxembourg-based firm linked to a Saudi billionaire helped cover more than $7.5 million in costs. Investigators are now asking, what was offered in return? While no direct legal violations have been proven, the lack of transparency is troubling, especially given Andrew's lack of a legitimate income stream since his royal expulsion. Even more curious is Andrew's refusal to leave Royal Lodge, despite King Charles's reported insistence that he relocate to a smaller residence. Insiders say the move isn't just about space, it's about finances. Royal Lodge requires extensive maintenance, and its $30,000 per month security cost, once covered by the taxpayer, is now Andrew's burden. How he's affording that remains unclear. Palace sources quietly admit that private arrangements have been made, but no one is willing to say by whom. There is also talk, again, unconfirmed but persistent, that Prince Andrew may have received financial help from individuals connected to regimes not friendly to British interests. These rumors, if proven true, would place the monarchy in its most precarious public position in decades. Not because Andrew acted alone, but because no one stopped him. With each new financial leak, the image of Prince Andrew shifts further, from disgraced royal to potential liability. What started as a personal scandal is now a national security concern, unfolding beneath the surface of the monarchy's carefully controlled image. And if the current trajectory continues, the most devastating revelations may still be ahead. Just when it seemed the tide of scandal surrounding Prince Andrew had crested, new revelations began to surface. This time not just about his public actions, but about his private past. A new unauthorized biography, entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York, has shaken the royal foundation once again by exploring allegations not just tied to Jeffrey Epstein or shady business dealings, but claims that reach back to Andrew's early adulthood and even his adolescence. According to the book's author, Andrew Loney, multiple unnamed sources, including former palace staff and social insiders, hinted at troubling patterns in Andrew's behavior long before he ever met Epstein. One disturbing anecdote from the biography involves reports of inappropriate sexual conversations overheard by staff when Andrew was still a teenager. Others recall his obsession with young girls, a trait some former acquaintances describe as not a phase, but a consistent personality trait that followed him into adulthood. These allegations are deeply unsettling, and while unproven, the growing number of similar stories has raised eyebrows among both the press and the public. Even more damning are claims that members of the royal household may have actively suppressed complaints about Andrew's behavior over the years, ranging from sexual innuendo at private events to disrespect toward staff. Royal insiders are now reportedly in panic mode, fearing that there may be documentation of these complaints buried deep within sealed archives or shredded entirely. The pattern, critics say, mirrors what institutions around the world have done for decades: protect the powerful, silence the vulnerable, and the fallout is now reaching those closest to him. King Charles, now at the helm of a slimmed-down monarchy, is said to be growing increasingly cold toward his brother. Multiple reports suggest that the king has privately stated he will never allow Prince Andrew to return to public duties, not in any form. He has allegedly refused to meet alone with Andrew, and senior palace advisors have been instructed to keep Andrew off all official schedules indefinitely. Prince William, too, is rumored to support his father's hardline stance, believing that the monarchy's survival hinges on severing all connections with scandal. But perhaps the saddest fallout lies within Andrew's own immediate family. Both Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, once hopeful defenders of their father's innocence, are now said to be deeply conflicted. According to friends, they have begged Andrew to step away quietly, for their sake, if not his. But Andrew remains defiant, insisting that the world simply doesn't understand the truth. If you've made it this far, you're clearly committed to understanding the full, haunting scope of this royal unraveling. Please consider supporting the channel by clicking the like button, subscribing for more faceless deep dives, and leaving a comment. Do you think the monarchy has done enough to hold Prince Andrew accountable? Your voice matters more than ever. The tragedy here is no longer just about Andrew's disgrace. It's about a monarchy forced to confront its own failures. The cover-ups, the silence, the loyalty to bloodlines over truth, and with new whispers emerging each week, some fear this may only be the beginning of what's yet to be revealed, because what's lurking in the shadows isn't just Andrew's past. It's the institution that protected it. As the months pass and the headlines grow quieter, many believe the Prince Andrew scandal is fading into the background. But the truth is far more haunting. Behind the gates of Royal Lodge, Andrew lives in a kind of royal exile, not by law, but by legacy. Stripped of his titles, his public role, and his standing within the monarchy, he remains inside a sprawling estate he refuses to leave. Not because he can't, but because outside its walls he is a man without a kingdom. Sources inside the palace confirm what has long been whispered. Prince Andrew is no longer welcome at official royal events. He is not invited to major state functions, excluded from balcony appearances, and his presence, when allowed at family gatherings, is carefully staged away from the cameras. When Queen Elizabeth passed, there was speculation that her death might soften Charles's stance. It did not. In fact, her absence seems to have hardened it. With the Queen gone, there is no longer anyone within the royal family shielding Andrew from the consequences of his choices. Those who once advocated for his return have gone silent. Princess Beatrice and Eugenie are said to visit occasionally, but they keep their public distance. Sarah Ferguson, his ex-wife and longtime defender, has reportedly faced pressure to limit her public support, especially after rumors resurfaced that she too may have benefited financially from Epstein-linked associates. Even longtime royalists, once loyal to the York name, now quietly concede there is no path back for Andrew. Behind closed doors, insiders describe a man in denial. Andrew reportedly believes he was used by Epstein and unfairly targeted by the media. He has made attempts, unsuccessful ones, to fund legal teams to clear his name and revive his image. He reportedly feels betrayed not only by the press but by his own family. Yet as more evidence surfaces, the palace has made no moves to rehabilitate him. They've opted instead for strategic silence, a slow, deliberate distancing. The monarchy has closed ranks, and Andrew is on the outside. The final blow may come not from a newspaper, but from the king himself. King Charles is said to be quietly pursuing efforts to evict Andrew from Royal Lodge, to relocate him to a much smaller residence and cut remaining royal privileges. But Andrew has resisted fiercely. Some reports claim he is fighting eviction with legal threats, arguing that the lease on Royal Lodge entitles him to stay until 2078. It's not just a home, it's the last symbol of his former power. And it's slipping away. Meanwhile, the public has not forgotten. Polls show continued outrage over the settlement he paid to Virginia Giuffre, reportedly over $12 million funded in part by the Queen herself. Questions remain about how that deal was arranged, what Andrew admitted behind closed doors, and whether more victims may yet come forward. The press may have moved on, but the stain remains. This is how it ends, not with scandalous headlines, but with silence. A prince once at the center of royal power, now hidden behind stone walls and manicured gardens, haunted by truths he refuses to speak, and a world that no longer believes him. And as more devastating details emerge, one thing is clear: Prince Andrew is no longer just a royal problem. He is the crown's greatest shame. A forthcoming biography, leaked court documents, and damning testimony from those once close to him have revealed disturbing contradictions in Andrew's long-maintained timeline. Officials now question whether he was ever truthful about ending his friendship with Epstein. Investigators are uncovering previously undisclosed meetings, suspicious financial arrangements, and alleged links to foreign agents. Even more chilling, allegations of misconduct from his early private life, claims so disturbing they were excluded from past reports. This is no longer just a scandal, it's a royal reckoning. And the devastating new details we're about to uncover may explain why the monarchy has quietly closed its doors to him forever. This is the story the palace doesn't want you to hear. But it's finally coming to light. Shall I continue with Chapter 1, where we'll explore Andrew's deeper ties to Jeffrey Epstein, and how long he may have truly kept those connections alive?